everybody. Today we're going to be doing a Sosei practice. So Sosei means restoration or resurrection. It means bringing something back that maybe has been lost or something that's been missing. So today we're going to focus on some good mobility within the body and some ease within the body. All of this stress that we've been under for a while constricts us and tightens us up and restricts our range of motion, restricts our ability to breathe deeply. So today we're just going to move in some healthy ways that help open all of that up and let us breathe and live and move with a little bit more ease. So we're going to start today. Actually, we're going to start lying down. So we'll go ahead and come down onto our mats. We'll keep the knees bent. And we'll let the hips get heavy. Maybe step the feet a little bit wider apart. Let the knees gently drop in towards one another. Lengthening out through the top of the head. Think about extending through the spine right here. So maybe just lift the head and gently place it just a little bit farther away. And we're going to place one hand down here on the belly and one hand up a little closer towards the chest here. And we're going to do this so we start to feel where the breath moves in the body here. So take a few moments just to let the body settle. And then as the body settles and the little movements settle within the body, we start to feel the natural rhythm of the breath. We inhale through the nose, we feel the chest rise and expand, and hopefully we feel the belly rise as well. And then exhale the opposite direction, the belly falls, the ribs, the chest fall, the breath slips back out. Closing the eyes here, we just watch this ebb and flow of the breath. Doing our best to breathe in and out through the nose. The nose acts as a natural filter for our body. So continuing to breathe here. Actively trying to bring that breath deep into the lungs. Feel that belly really rise and swell on the inhale. And maybe with this intention, we slow it down a little bit, lengthening, making each breath a little deeper, each exhale a little longer. When we feel that belly rise and fall with the breath, we're using our diaphragm. And that diaphragmatic breathing is something that is very powerful for our nervous system. It helps trigger our nervous system to relax and let go, move out of the stress place and into the space of digestion, healing, rest, restoration. Returning some balance to the body and to the nervous system. So as we move today through our gentle Sosei practice, let's keep this focus on the breath. Keep the focus on bringing that breath deep into the body. Take one more deep breath here, and then we'll start to move. Long, slow exhale. And we'll remove the hands from the body, taking the arms out to cactus arms. So the Elbows and shoulders are bent at 90 degrees and the palms face up. Hopefully this feels nice and open across the chest. If the backs of the hands don't quite come to the floor here, you can take this more out to the angle. Just take it to any position that helps that chest feel open and broad. The shoulders feel relaxed to the floor. And we'll walk the feet a little bit wider apart, maybe the heels just a touch closer to the body. And we'll take a nice deep breath into the belly once again. Exhaling, the knees drop to the right and the head turns left. Inhaling, knees and head back to center. And exhaling, the knees drop left. The head turns to the right. Moving nice and slowly, evenly here, side to side. Noticing what is shifting in the hips, in the neck, in the belly. Following the breath. Let's take it one more time to each side. Exhaling to one side. Inhaling to the center. And exhaling to the second side. We'll return to center here. And walk those feet back to hip distance apart. We'll draw the right knee into the chest, holding behind the thigh here. Give a little hug and maybe lengthen that left leg down to the floor. Rock that thigh side to side. Come back to center and switch. Draw the left knee in and lengthen the right leg down to the floor. Maybe rocking that thigh a little bit side to side. Just feel that motion through the hip. And the right knee comes in, left leg lengthens. Then we're going to start to move with the breath here. So we're going to inhale. And then exhale, draw the left knee in, lengthen through the right. Inhale. And exhale, right knee in, lengthen through the left. We're going to switch here. Inhale and exhale, left knee in, right leg long. Start to feel the hip flexors beginning to engage as we have to draw the knee in and lengthen through the other. Side to side with the breath. One more here. Getting a little engagement through the belly, just sort of warming up the core a little bit here. And then both knees come into the chest. Let's hug behind the thighs here. Draw the knees up towards the chin and the chin up towards the knees. Give a nice big squeeze here. Maybe rock side to side a little bit. And release the head back to the floor. The hands come to the knees here. We're going to extend the arms so the knees are stacked a little more over the hips. And just start to draw some small circles. Let the weight of the sacrum, the weight of the low part of the spine, just sort of be heavy into the floor here. Drawing some small, slow circles in one direction. And then switch directions here. And we'll bring both knees back to center, both feet back to the floor. We'll take the hands down to our sides here. And we'll start to feel motion through the pelvis here. We're going to tuck the tailbone under, as if we're peeling the tailbone up off the floor and pressing the mid-back into the floor, the waist. Think about pressing the waist into the floor. And then tip the pelvis forward. The waist lifts up. The belly rises here. There's now space underneath our low back. And then tuck the tailbone under. The glutes peel up off the floor and then tip the pelvis forward. The waist lifts. So we're just going to rock back and forth with the breath a few more times. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone under. Inhaling, tip the pelvis forward. One more time. Tuck under. and tip forward. Come back to neutral. Now neutral is that halfway point between the tuck and the tilt here. So there might be a little bit of space, a little bit of airflow under the low back here. Or maybe not airflow, just we're not pressing that part of the spine into the floor here. So we find that neutral spine. And let's go ahead and place the hands down here on the front of the hips. So hands are down here on the front of the hips. And we're going to keep the knees and thighs pretty much where they are. We're just going to press the right side down into the floor. So this left side pops up just a little bit. We're pressing the right side of the sacrum into the floor here. And the sacrum is that shield-shaped fusion of vertebra down at the bottom of the spine there. And then we're going to switch to the other side, press the left side of the sacrum into the floor. Inhale to center, very subtle movement here. Press the right side. Inhale, center, press the left side. One more time to each side. Moving as much as you can just through that pelvis area, not through the legs and the knees as much. We're finding some muscles here. We're just sort of reacquainting our body and our brains with some of the muscles down here around our deep, deep core here. All right, we'll come back to center here. We're going to do one more tuck and tilt. So tuck that tailbone under, press the mid-back waist into the floor, and then tip the pelvis forward. Bring that spine back to neutral. Now we're going to pull everything in together here. So imagine as if you have your obliques along the side or along the outside of the waist here, pulling forward towards the belly button. So imagine everything sort of tightening up and pulling in here. We're going to tighten up that corset, as you were, right around there of muscles, and hold on. From there, keep that pelvis in neutral. Do not rock side to side or forward back. And we're just going to slowly lift the left foot. Try to keep everything strong and in neutral here around the core. And then slowly let that foot come back to the floor. Now notice how much you shift when you release. Try to keep everything nice and stable here. Pull everything in towards the front and then slowly lift the right foot. It's a subtle movement here, but it's a lot of core engagement and core awareness that we're trying to bring into the picture here. The right foot comes back to the floor. Nice strong engagement. Lift the left foot. And down. And just one more time, lift the right foot. Nice and strong all through this whole area. And put those feet back to the floor. Now release that tension, release that sort of tightening around the middle here. Maybe just rock the hips a little side to side. We'll come back to center. And we're going to do one more variation on this before we start moving a little bit more. We're trying to find that activation in the core, find that stability, realign our brains with what muscles can do down in here. So we're going to hold on once again. We're going to pull everything towards the front and together towards this midline here. And we're going to lift one foot. Try to keep everything in neutral, nice and strong, and then lift the second foot. Now, notice what happened in the low back. Try not to lose that neutral spine. If you lost the neutral spine, which means now you're either tipping way forward or tucking under, bring those feet back down, find that neutral spine, re-engage, and then very, very slowly lift. Hold on to that stability here, lift the other leg. Now if this feels like we can hold on for a little bit, we're going to do the reverse marching here. So hold on, and we're going to slowly bring one foot down, tap the foot, and come right back up. Move slower than you think you need to here. Hold on, drop down, and come up. This looks really easy, but if we're holding everything in neutral, it's actually a lot of work here. So if this feels like too much, do the regular marching, not the reverse marching I'm doing here. So if this is too much to hold everything in neutral, bring those feet back down. Start in neutral from the floor and just alternate lifting. And again, move a little bit slower than you think you need to. That way we know we're not sort of rocking side to side, and we know we're kind of keeping everything where it needs to be. Let's go ahead and release both feet back to the floor. And take one more tuck under here and tilt forward. And slowly let the knees drop open here, coming to a reclining butterfly, Supta Baddha Konasana. Let the knees drop open, relax those hip flexors, relax the inner thighs here. Take a few deep breaths all the way down here into the belly. Placing hands on the belly, we feel the belly rise. And exhaling. Again, deep inhale through the nose. And exhaling through the mouth. And re-engage those muscles of the inner thighs. Bring the knees back together. And we'll slowly draw one knee in and the next knee. And lift that chin up towards the knees one more time. Give a nice big squeeze here. Maybe rock a little side to side. And we're going to roll over to one side. Take a moment here on our sides with the knees up to the chest. The head cushioned with the bottom hand. We've been on our backs for a little bit, so just take a moment here to let the body find some equilibrium. And then when you're ready, we're going to straighten the top leg, press into the top arm, and very slowly come up here. Making our way up to an easy seated pose. We'll take the fingertips behind us, press the floor away, tip the pelvis forward here, lift the glutes and kind of get them out of the way. So we're trying to sort of inwardly rotate the thighs a little bit, getting the glutes out of the way. That helps us stay connected down through the sit bones here and helps us stay nice and tall through the low back. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what's happening in my low back. So a lot of times when we sit, we end up kind of rounding here. That shortens everything in the front and it overstretches things in the back here. Instead, what we'd like to find in our more neutral, balanced spine here is that pelvis tipped forward, lengthening up through the top of the head. And sometimes that inward rotation of the thighs, getting the glutes out of the way, helps broaden the base a little bit and helps us sit a little bit taller. So we'll find our nice, tall, easy seated pose here. And take the hands down to the knees, turn the palms up here. This is a simple gesture which is not only has a symbolic meaning of being sort of open to receiving information and guidance, but it's also a gesture that, just do this for a second, turn the palms down and feel what's happening in the shoulders right here, and then very gently turn the palms up. Can you feel that difference in the shoulder? Can you feel that shoulder pull back a little bit more, open across the chest just a little bit more? So this palms up has a symbolic meaning, but also a physical coordination and sensation through the body here. So the palms up on the knees, resting gently on the knees, nice and tall through the top of the head. And we'll take a few deep breaths here. We have some engagement here through the core, through the front of the body, in order to stay nice and tall. But we should try to relax through the jaw, relax through the shoulders. And let's take one more deep breath here and we'll begin to move in our seated pose. We'll take the arms down to our sides. On the next inhale, sweep them wide. Interlace the hands over the head and then press tall. Reach up through the heart. Little tiny, tiny back bend, and then release the arms down to our sides and roll the shoulders. Up to the ears, back, together and down. Up, back, together, and down. One more time. Nice big roll here. And set those arms down once again. Inhale, sweep them wide. Exhale, interlace the fingers, press and lift through the heart. And release. Another big shoulder roll. Last time, inhaling here. Exhale, press, lift, and release. Turn to face you so you can see what's happening. We'll bring our arms down to our sides here. Walk the fingertips out away from us. And we're going to notice sort of feeling nice and grounded through the sit bones. We're going to reach up through the right arm here. We want to stay really grounded through this right hip. So try not to come up off that hip at all. Keep the hips grounded. Lengthen up as high as you can. Turn the gaze up towards the arm and then arch down to the side here. Stay nice and even. Try to move just within this one plane of motion here. Inhaling, both arms reach tall. Lengthen up through the left. Stay grounded through the left hip. Arch to the right. Inhaling up. Lengthen and fold. Think about reaching to the opposite side here. Lengthen and reach. Getting as far away with those fingertips from that hip as possible. One more time. And the second side. And if we turn the gaze up towards the arms as we're moving here, we get a little stretch in the neck as well. Take both hands up together overhead. Press one more time. Look up. Breathe deeply here. Exhale, release back down. Roll the shoulders. We'll draw those knees together and come over into all fours. And if being on your knees is challenging, you can take a beach blanket, beach towel, a little gardening kneeling pad, lots of good options to help sort of cushion the knee joint. But we're gonna do some movements here in all fours. So we're gonna start with the wrists under the shoulders, the knees under the hips, and we're gonna press the floor away. So lifting that chest far away from the floor here, arms nice and long. And we're gonna reach out through the top of the head, back through the tailbone, finding that neutral spine to begin with. Then on the next inhale, drop the belly, lifting head and tailbone. Exhale, press the floor away, tuck the tailbone and chin. Inhale, drop the belly back down. Roll shoulders back, lift head and tailbone. Cow pose. Exhaling, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhaling, cat. One more, forward and back. Opening the front of the spine on the inhale. Broadening and opening the back of the spine in the exhale. Come back to neutral spine here. We're going to drop down to forearms, placing the elbows directly under the shoulders, fingers spread wide. We're going to step back with the left foot, tuck the toes under here, planting the toes on the floor. And then we're going to pull that kneecap up. We're engaging the quad on that left side. So straightening that leg as much as possible. And then press back through the heel, driving into the elbows here. Get a nice calf stretch on that left side. But we're actively pressing into the elbows here to strengthen through the shoulders. We'll bring the left knee down, step back with the right foot. Toes tuck under, kneecap pulls up, and then drive into the elbows, press back through the right heel. One complete breath here, staying strong through the shoulders. Try to keep the neck in neutral, so we're lengthening out through the top of the head in line with the rest of the spine. Right knee comes down, left foot steps back, toes tuck under, kneecap pulls up, press back. And the second side, one more time. Right foot stepping back. And both knees come back down to the floor. Walk hands back towards the body, coming all the way up to high kneeling. We're going to roll those shoulders one more time, up to the ears, back, together, and down. Think about that open palm once again, that opening of the upper arm here and the shoulders. staying nice and tall. On the next inhale, sweep the arms wide. Look up between the fingertips. Exhale the hands to the low back. Fists on either side of the sacrum here. We're going to tuck the tailbone under, squeeze the glutes and the low belly. So we're engaging there, and then we're going to lift the heart. Keeping the hips pressed forward, opening up into a modified camel. And gently come back to neutral. Little counter pose, tap the hips down to the heels, come right back up and squeeze the glutes. Drop down and come up and squeeze. Little kneeling squats here, just to re-engage the muscles around the SI joint. One more. And shake it out. Another camel here, inhaling up. Exhale, hands to the low back. Fists or palms on either side of the sacrum here. We're going to pull shoulder blades together behind, opening the chest. Engage through the belly and the glutes here to stabilize. Think about keeping this low back long as you lift up with the heart. Press forward with the hips. Keeping a little tuck in the chin, protecting the back of the neck here. And then gently back to neutral. Couple more kneeling squats. Tap the hips down, come right back up, and big squeeze at the top. Two more. And one more. And we'll shake it out. We're going to step forward with the right foot. If you have blocks on hand and know you like them, you can put them here, maybe on their medium side. If you don't have blocks or want to do this without using our hands, we're going to stand up from this position. So I'm going to give you the lowest impact options first. So you can place the hands down on the blocks, tuck the back toes, lift the back knees, and then come up that way. You can also just press into the thigh, tuck the back toes, press into that thigh as you rise up. Or the last option, nice and tall, strong through the belly, chest stays broad, tuck the back toes, and just lift up from here. So your call. But we're going to find this high lunge here, straightening that back leg as much as possible. We want that back heel stacked directly over the foot. We're going to press straight back through the heel. Calf stretch once again. Inhale up to the ball of the foot. We're going to take it to a tiny little lunge. We're really just bending the back knee. This right knee stays exactly where it is. Inhale back up, take it back to the calf stretch. Press straight back through the heel. Inhale to the ball of the foot, tiny little lunge. Just working a little stability here. Calf stretch. Inhale, lunge. One more here. Calf stretch and lunge. Back up to high lunge. We're going to take those hands back down to the blocks or back to the floor and step forward with the left foot. We'll bend the knees generously here, stick the butt back, hips back, lengthen out through the top of the head. Have that position like you're about to dive off and do the 50 meter or whatever that is. I'm not a swimmer, so I have no idea. But we're lengthening out through the top of the head and the hips are back here. Then inhale, press the floor away, come all the way up. And exhale, bring the hands down, heart center, get as tall as you can through the top of the head. Inhale, sweep the arms. Look up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, swan dive down. Nice big forward fold. Inhale, we're going to lengthen, come up halfway. Reach forward through the top of the head, back through the tailbone. Exhale, forward fold. Soften the knees, hips back once again. Reverse swan dive up. And exhaling, chair. In this chair, the hips are back. Make sure those knees don't travel forward. Inhaling, lift. Swan dive down. Inhaling, half lift. Lengthen. Exhaling, forward fold. Hips back, reverse swan dive up. Last time, exhaling, chair. Inhaling up. Swan dive down. And we'll take those blocks or hands to the floor, your call. And we're going to step back with the right foot. So we're finding our high lunge here with the left foot forward this time. And good positioning in high lunge. Left knee stays stacked, the front knee stays stacked over the front ankle, and that back heel stays stacked over that foot. Don't let that back foot be at an angle if you can help it. Press into that front foot. We're going to rise all the way up here. And we're going to exhale the hands down to our side. Fully straighten that back leg, pull that kneecap up, and press straight back through the heel. Inhale, come up to the ball of the foot and take it to a tiny little lunge, just dropping that back knee a tiny little bit. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, press back through the heel. Inhale, up and lunge. Inhale, calf stretch. Inhale and lunge. Just one more here. Working a little stability in the hips and the legs here, a little stretch. Back up to our high lunge here. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, back down to the blocks or the floor. Stepping forward with the right foot. Hips back, lengthen out through the top of the head. Reverse swan dive up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, sweep the arms wide. Exhaling, heart center. One more time here, inhaling. This time as we exhale, we're going to keep the hips facing forward. I'm going to twist from the navel up, over to the left. Let the arms float down. Again, try to keep those hips facing forward. Inhale, sweep up to center, and exhale, twist to the right. Try to relax through the shoulders. Inhaling up, exhale, twist to the left. We're trying to get some rotation through the midsection, the thoracic spine here. Inhale, exhale to the right. Inhale. And hands come back down to heart center. Inhale, sweep wide. Swan dive down, hinge at the hips. Half lift, lengthen. Gaze comes forward just a touch. And exhale back to forward fold. Soften the knees, reverse swan dive up. Exhaling chair. Just 2 more times through our little chair flow here. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, lift, lengthen. Exhale, forward fold. Reverse swan dive up. And chair. Watch those knees on the chair. Exhaling down. Half lift, lengthen. Forward fold. Reverse swan dive up. And we're going to sit into this chair nice and slowly. The hips go back, knees do not travel forward. And then we're going to pull those hands into the heart center, pulling the belly button in towards the spine. Relax the shoulders down away from the ears. Sit the hips back a little deeper. Try to keep the chest lifted, core engaged. Continue to breathe here. One more breath. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, hands, head, and heart come towards the floor or the blocks. We're going to step back halfway with the right foot. Take a moment here in pyramid. Legs straightening, the hands to the blocks or to the floor or to that front shin. The legs are straight without the knees being locked. Make sure you can feel the difference. Make sure you can have a little bend in those knees without coming out of a lock. And we're going to pull the right hip forward, left hip back, deepening the stretch down the back of this left leg. Reach forward through the top of the head. Pull the shoulders down away from the ears. And then soften through both knees. Step forward with the right foot and back with the left. Halfway back with that left foot. Reach forward through the top of the head. And we're going to pull the right hip back, left hip forward. In our pyramid here, again, make sure the knees are soft. One more deep breath in and out. Softening both knees, step forward with the left foot. Reverse swan dive up. Exhale, hands to the low back. Camel here. Engage through the core. Engage through the glutes. Try to keep that low back long as we lift the heart. Drawing shoulder blades together behind, opening the chest. And gently back to neutral. Rolling spine, or rolling shoulders here. And we'll come back to center. Just check in with the body. We'll come to our mountain pose here. And we're gonna shift the weight forward and back on the feet. So imagine being on the beach. Not that any of us need to be on the beach right now. Florida. And we're burrowing our feet down into the sand here. Trying to find a little solid ground, a little connection. And we're going to shift the weight gently forward into the front of the feet and lift the heels just a tiny little bit. Feel good pressure on the right and left feet. That whole arch under the toes there. And then gently let the heels come back down. Shift the weight back into the heels. Pull the toes up. Glance down. We're going to spread the toes. Wiggle the toes. Try to get a little daylight between the toes. I love how what my brain is thinking my toes are doing is not actually what my toes are doing. So see if you can get those things connected. And again, keep them as spread wide as possible. And then let the toes come back to the floor. Shift the weight forward one more time. Heels come up just a tiny little bit. Just enough to feel good pressure. Sort of the ball of the foot all the way under the big toe, little toe, all the way out to the little toe. And let those heels come back down. Now, through your mind's eye, feel that connection down through the entire foot. Think about each corner of the foot. And we have good connection down through the whole feet. Okay, the only part of the foot that's sort of lifted is the arch. Nice and connected through all four corners of each foot. And we'll get nice and tall. That sort of open palm gesture here with the open chest. And we'll slowly start to peel the right foot off the floor. As we do that, try not to kick this hip out. Try to stay as tall. You can see exactly how much I'm kicking it out. You can try to keep as tall as you were a moment ago and let that knee come up in front. Now from here, we can just hold here and work our one-legged balance. This looks really simple, but it can be hard to hold for a little while. So we can hold this here, working our balance, trying to keep the arch lifted of the standing foot, engaging the hip flexor on this lifted leg side, trying not to clench our jaw, trying not to lift our shoulders. Try to only use the muscles that actually help you here. And we'll go ahead and bring that right foot back down. Rebalance the weight right to left here. Try not to shift much. Get nice and tall. Once again, notice how tall you are. And then ground down through the right foot. Let the left foot begin to peel. Move slowly here. Don't lose any height. Try not to kick that hip out. Maybe that toe stays kickstanded down to the floor. And we just sort of gently work balance, lifting and trying to get weight out of that foot. Or we can bring the knee up. Tips for balancing. Find a focal point that's not moving. And sort of glaze your eyes over at that focal point, as if staring at distant mountains. Let your breath be slow and steady. And we'll let that left foot come back down to the floor. Pedal out the feet a little bit here. We'll take this into a tree pose. Tree can have lots of variations. So we'll start with the left foot down. The right foot begins to peel. Try not to jump up into tree. Try to keep all those things that we just had happening nice and stable and strong. Right knee starts to pull up. Now, if the toe is kickstanded down, you can keep it there without weight in it and just squeeze that outer hip, point the knee out to the side. Your tree can be here. Maybe we pull that foot up the leg a little bit. Maybe we pull it all the way up to the thigh. It can be anywhere along that leg except directly on the knee. Directly on the knee puts pressure in a joint laterally that we don't want. So, and the arms can be anywhere that helps you balance here in tree. Find that focal point. Find the ease in the breath. And when you're ready, bring that knee back to center, the foot back to the floor. We're going to unweight the standing foot and gently roll out the ankle. And come back to center. We'll take tree on the second side. Inhaling up. Exhale, hands to heart center. We want to strengthen through the core here, so we pull that belly button in, stabilizing here, and the left foot begins to peel. Keeping the toe down or lifting the knee up. And point the knee out to the side and place the foot somewhere along the leg. Stay tall. Continue to lengthen out through the top of the head without clenching jaw, without letting the shoulders rise. Finding ease and balance in the breath. One more breath here. And we'll bring that knee back to center and down to the floor. Unweight that right foot. Gently roll out that ankle. And we're going to slowly make our way back down onto the floor. We're going to take a few seated poses here. We'll bring the legs straight out in front, coming to our staff pose. This is another one of those poses where we tend to round through the back in order to make it more sustainable. So instead, let's rotate those thighs inward, get a nice wide base, sit up nice and tall here. Bounce the knees just a little bit. Make sure knees and toes are pointing straight up. And breathe here. On the next inhale, we're going to lift the rib cage as much as we can, and then hinge at the hips. We may not go far, that's okay. We're not going to reach with the upper body here. We're going to let the hinge happen at the hips. So again, inhale, lift the rib cage, exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, lengthen out through the top of the head, exhale, hinge. Inhale, exhale, sinking. Each inhale, fill the spaces that feel tight. Each exhale, relax and soften. We find the edge of our flexibility here, whatever that may be. And we're just going to stretch out the neck a little bit here. On the next exhale, bring the chin all the way to the chest. Inhale, release that, and then bring the gaze forward, keeping the spine still flexed here. Exhale, chin to chest. Inhale, gaze forward. Now notice what happens in the stretch down the whole back of the body when you bring the chin to the chest. I actually feel it in my hamstrings when I bring the chin to the chest. One more time, gaze forward, and then exhale, chin to chest. Bring that head back to neutral, and then slowly lengthening up the whole way, walk the hands back towards the body. So maybe you noticed when you just brought that extra flex in the neck, you could feel it in other parts of the body. We are all connected through fascia. We are all connected through the muscle systems and the connective tissue systems. So just that little movement of the head stretched the whole back chain all the way down to my heels and the soles of my feet, actually. All right. So back up to a nice tall seat. After that forward fold, does this feel a little more sustainable? I feel like we could be here a little bit longer than we could before. Maybe, maybe not. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll bend the knees. We'll make our way down onto our backs. Draw those knees into the chest. Nice big hug here. Rocking side to side. We'll come back to center. We'll let the left foot come down to the floor. The foot, the knee, and the hip all in line here. And we'll take the right foot and cross it over the left thigh. From here, we're gently going to move that right thigh away from us, sort of opening up through the hip, coming to a figure 4 here. We're preparing for a reclining pigeon pose, or supine pigeon pose. So we've got the foot flexed. This lifted foot flexing is actually really important to help keep the knee at a stable angle. So flexing that foot for pigeon, whether you're doing regular pigeon or supine. And then from here, this may feel like plenty of a stretch through that hip, so you can stay here. If you want to go a little deeper, getting that deep piriformis stretch, you lift that left foot, pull that left knee in towards the chest. Maybe hugging around the back of that thigh. And you can hold here, or again, you can rock a little bit side to side, but move gently in this big fold pose. And we'll come back to center. We're going to lengthen that under leg, that left leg here, press straight up through the heel and roll that ankle. Nice and slowly. Julie, I can hear your ankle crack when I do this every time. And then rotate that ankle in the other direction. For those of you who come to my daytime classes, you know what I'm talking about. And we're going to bend that left knee and let that left foot come back down to the floor. Uncross the right. And we're going to cross the left foot over the right thigh. Open up through that hip. Flex that lifted foot. Again, that's going to stabilize the knee, the angle of the knee here. This may feel like plenty of opening here through that hip. Depending on where you're tight, you're going to feel it differently. So if you'd like to, lift the right foot off the floor. Draw that whole pretzel towards your chest here. Hugging around the back of the right thigh. Take some nice deep breaths here, trying to relax in the exhales. And we'll straighten that top leg. Press straight up through the heel, pull the toes back to the body, and then rotate that ankle nice and slowly. And switch direction. Back to center, we'll bend that knee, the foot comes back to the floor. We'll walk those feet nice and wide apart here. And we're going to do that same sort of pelvic awareness that we did earlier in the class, the beginning of the class today, but with the feet wide this time. We're going to tuck the tailbone under, pressing the waist into the floor, pulling the tailbone up off the floor, and then tip the pelvis forward. The waist lifts, you can slide your hands back under the mid-back there, and then tuck under, and tip forward. Just one more time, forward and back. Back to neutral, and same thing, but we're gonna side to side. So press the right side of the sacrum into the floor, that left side pops up here. Back to center, left side. Inhale, center, exhale, press the right. Inhale, and exhale, press left. Back to center here. Take some small rolls through the pelvis, like you're tipping a bowl around, sloshing water around in a bowl here, and then switch directions. Come back to center. We'll lengthen the left leg. Draw the right knee into the chest. We're going to straighten that leg. We can hold a couple different places here. We can hold the back of the knee. We can hold the back of the calf. We can reach and grab the big toe, holding here. So your call. But we're pulling the toes back towards the body, pressing out through the heel. And we'll bend that knee, bring it down to the floor. The left knee comes into the chest and press straight up again. We can hold a few different places here. Really pull the toes back. And then let that knee come back to the floor. That foot come back to the floor. From here, we're going to take one last little twist. The knees come up. We'll take the arms out to the side, palms facing down, just for a little anchoring. And we're slowly going to let the knees drop down to the right. Move slowly here. Try to keep the shoulders well connected with the floor. Almost all the way to the floor, and then inhale up to center. Exhale, knees dropping to the left. Inhale, center. One more time to each side. This time, feel free to relax the knees all the way to the floor and take a few deep breaths. Maybe even lift and turn the head in the opposite direction of the knees. And we'll bring the head back to center first, then let the knees drop to the second side. And the head turns away. With each breath, get a little heavier into the floor. Try to release into the twist. And bring that head back to center and very slowly bring the knees back. Let the feet come back to the floor, the knees drop in towards one another. Take those arms into any position that helps us feel open across the chest. Take a few breaths sort of listening to the body, noticing if there's any last poses or movements the body need to feel balanced and relaxed. And go ahead and make your way to whatever pose you'd like to use for Shavasana today. One of my favorites, if you happen to have blocks handy, it's a nice little chest opener. One block on its lowest side, sort of through the mid-back here, parallel with the spine. And a second block on its medium side, under the base of the skull. And you can play around with exactly where that lower block is in order to let the shoulder blades drop down over top of it. Let the chest open. This is a great reverse for the position that we're in front of the computers or on our phones, where the spine is rounded forward, the head is forward, shoulders are pulled forward. The muscles of the chest are shortened, and the muscles between the shoulder blades get overstretched in that position. So this is a great one to do a nice positional release for the body. And there's lots of little variations that you can do with this. And if you don't have blocks at home, you can use different props too. If you have a nice firm blanket you can roll up into a nice tight roll, or a round bolster, something that you can use along the spine, just something to open the chest. And I will leave you to your Shavasana for today. And you get the added benefit of being able to stay in Shavasana as long as you'd like, or as long as your kids will let you. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.